Along the 6,000 kilometers of the rift from the Red Sea to Mozambique, geochemical, geophysical and heat flow measurements were made to identify areas suitable for geothermal wells. One area lies next to the extinct Olkaria volcano, within the Hell's Gate National Park, and sits over some of the thinnest continental crust on Earth. This is a result of the thinning of the crust by tectonic stretching, causing hotter material below the Earth's surface to rise, resulting in higher temperatures. This thin crust was ideal for the drilling of geothermal wells, reaching depths of around 3,000 meters, where temperatures get up to 342 degrees Celsius, far higher than the usual temperature of 90 degrees Celsius at this depth. Water in the surrounding rocks is converted to steam by the heat. The steam can be used to drive turbines and produce electricity. "6,000 to 10,000 years ago, many of our ancestors' hunter-gatherer societies settled on the land and began what's known as the agricultural revolution. That new land settlement led to private property and increased production and trade of goods, generating a huge new influx of information. Unable to keep all this information in their memories, our ancestors created systems of written records that evolved over millennia into today's written languages. But this ancient IT is already becoming obsolete. Text has run its historic course and it now rapidly getting replaced in every area of our lives by the ever-increasing array of emerging. It's driven by voice, video, and body movement rather than the written word.
One day the banana is perfect, bright yellow, firm, flavorful. But even within that same day brown spots appear on your perfectly ripe banana. Its flesh turns mushy, and it's destined for the compost or at best, banana bread. But scientists are developing a way to extend the life of ripe bananas. It's a spray-on coating made from chitosan, a substance found in crab and shrimp shells. The new gel can be sprayed on bananas to slow the ripening process by up to 12 days. Like other fruits, bananas remain alive after being picked and it actually continues to respire. This means that they take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. The more the banana breathes, the faster it ripens and then rots. A clean river nurtures plankton and water weeds, which are the food and nourishment of small fish. This natural cycle of life becomes a feature of any stretch of water. Even an artificially created piece of water like a pond or a canal will, if left alone, start its own life cycle, beginning with things that wriggle in the mud. In a short time, small predators will move in, and a complex little food chain will have started. All water, whether still or flowing, is richly productive, for where there is water there is life. You often see people fishing in a narrow water channel. They fish in ponds the size of puddles, in streams that look like gutters. And they are nearly always rewarded with a catch. The combination of water and organic matter can always be counted upon to produce some kind of living matter. Modern education attaches great importance to learning through doing. It is fully recognized that the knowledge gained through actually doing the task is more effective and lasting than that gained through mere reading. That is why all the modern methods of education give top priority to some handwork round which they base the teaching of the curriculum. In the past, whereas education laid stress on training of 3 R's, i.e. reading, writing and arithmetic, modern education attaches great importance to the training of 3 H's, i.e. head, heart and hand. It has been realized that the head, the heart and the hand get the best training through self-activity with hands and brain, especially when carried out in cooperation with others. New items were carefully controlled so that the student could cope quite easily. Now that English is used as a medium of instruction, however, all this has changed. Unknown items of grammar and vocabulary appear in texts which attempt to explain new and often difficult information. Difficulties with the language interact with difficulties as regards the subject matter. The student's reading in his own subject slows down, and his comprehension becomes less secure. He expresses himself slowly and often fails to convey his ideas exactly. He is disappointed to find that under pressure he makes a lot of unnecessary mistakes in areas where he knows the correct language forms. His social relations are difficult as he cannot find the right phrase quickly enough to keep a conversation going, so his language often betrays him into dullness, coldness, or worst of all, rudeness. The great advantage of early rising is the head start it gives us in our day's work. The early riser has done a large amount of hard work before other men even get out of bed. In the early morning, the mind is fresh, and there are few sounds or other distractions. In many cases the early riser also finds time to take some exercise in the fresh morning air. By beginning so early, he knows that he has plenty of time to do thoroughly all the work he can be expected to do. All his work having been finished in good time, he has a long interval of rest in the evening before the timely hour when he goes to bed. After a sound night's rest, he rises early next morning in good health and spirits for the labors of a new day.
Most people don't mind working out a bit but are discouraged by the thought of exercising hard. The idea of sweating buckets is so daunting that they avoid exercising. Fortunately, exercise is not a matter of all or nothing. There is some reward at every level of effort, provided it is regular. Spend at least 30 minutes a day in action, like brisk walking to errands, climbing stairs, carrying heavy shopping, or children, doing outdoor gardening. Your rewards will not be immediate, but you can expect a reduced risk of problems like brittle bones, heart disease, and poor blood circulation. You work up a decent appetite and sleep well, but improvement in body shape will be minimal. Light regular exercise helps your heart. Communication is the sharing of information. It is the power to create in the minds of others feelings or information that you want them to have. It is the need to communicate that has given rise to speech, language, alphabets, and writing. The same need led to the invention of paper, printing presses, typewriters, and finally computers and the Internet. The power to communicate in depth has allowed humans to dominate the Earth. The fast development of the same power has allowed human technological evolution to overtake biological and social evolution. There are three principal needs of communication. The need to communicate in the presence of the receiver gave rise to speech and language. English is important not because a number of people know it, although it is a factor to be remembered. It is not important because it is the language of Milton and Shakespeare, although that also has to be considered. English is important because it is the major window on the modern world. And we dare not close that window. If we close it, we imperil our future. Be it industrialization, scientific development and technology, every door of modern knowledge will be closed if we do not have one or more foreign languages. We can have French, German or Russian, if you like, but obviously it is infinitely simpler for us to deal with a language which we know than to shift over to French, German, Russian or Spanish, which will be a tremendous job. Despite all the new thinking, there is still no acceptable alternative to the examination. Whether it be at the end of term, or the year, or at the end of a school course, or for the purpose of choosing candidates for a course of study and training, the only practicable way of measuring a student's performance or of assessing his potential is by an examination, supplemented where necessary, by recommendation, interview and other devices. The most unfortunate byproduct of the examination system has been the proliferation of study notes, guides to passing examination, model answers, hints for writing essays and similar travesties of education. There is no need to engage on the unethical nature of these publications. Books of travel are of all kinds, from the dry records of laborious statisticians to the trivial diaries of globe-trotters. Explorers, seamen, archaeologists, naturalists, dreamers, what type of man or woman has not written a book of travel? They are read, they are forgotten, and 99 out of every 100 pass away into oblivion. Yet there are others. Alas! There aren't many. Great books are rare, same as the people of genius and character are. To write a book of travel appeals irresistibly to large numbers of persons who have no creative power, whose books are the mere reflection of a shallow curiosity and of a foolish egotism.
Observe the dilemma of the fungus. It is a plant, but it possesses no chlorophyll. While all other plants put the sun's energy to work for them, combining the nutrients of ground and air into the body structure, the fungus must look elsewhere for energy supply. It finds it in those other plants which, having received their energy free from the sun, relinquish it at some point in their cycle either to animals, like us humans, or to the fungi. In this search for energy, the fungus has become the Earth's major source of rot and decay. Wherever you see mold forming on a piece of bread, or a pile of leaves turning to compost, or a blown-down tree becoming pulp on the ground, you are watching a fungus eating. It is necessary to have a standard of education. We can set two sorts of standards there. First, a minimum standard below which no one is allowed to fall, in the shape of so many years of elementary education in such and such subjects. And secondly, and in a way even more important, a standard of equal opportunity for all, to ensure that no boy or girl is deprived of the chance of climbing to the top of the educational ladder through poverty or the accidents of birth. There are also standards of economic security. During the recent past, the sense of insecurity has been the single greatest cause, both of individual anxiety and frustration, and of social instability and unrest. The APA style contains not only a referencing system but also a number of other recommendations for how a scientific report should be written. These instructions, which apply to all forms of academic writing in social work, are based primarily on the 6th edition of the Publication Manual of the American Psychological Association. However, it does not encompass all possible considerations, but a number of central aspects that are considered to create a sufficiently good basis for the student's academic writing. The student must ensure that references to literature and other material are included in both the running text and in the reference list at the end of the essay. In principle, the student is to avoid the use of notes or footnotes.